Today's guest is Emily Lewis, who is a grace centered coach who helps women stop trying to prove their worth so they can rest in who God is and own who God says they are. Her mission is to help Christians know that they don't have to fit into a box or mold to have a thriving relationship with God. She has helped dozens of women understand that they are unconditionally loved and that they can rest from achieving. Emily is the host of the Abundant Grace podcast and the creator of the Abundant Grace Bible studies. She lives in Montana with her husband, Bill, and their 4 young daughters. Emily, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
Hi, Drasco. I'm so glad to be here. I'm doing really well.
I'm excited to have you here as well. I know we did a little bit of speaking prior to actually recording, and I think there's going to be a lot of stuff to unpack. So I'd love for you to just kind of start us off and give us a little bit of context on like how you got to doing what you're doing, what your current business is, kind of break all of that down for us.
Okay, awesome. So I got started doing this. It's really was born out of my story. I grew up in a Christian home, but then the church that I grew up in was all about doing the right thing, believing exactly the right thing, and I bought it. And I was the goody two shoes. I was arrogant and probably hard to be around at times, but I really just tried to do all of the things and that I was supposed to be doing, and it left me exhausted. But I didn't know that there could be anything different. I thought that that's just what it was to be the most right and the in order for God to even like me. Like the Bible says God loves me, so I believed it. I didn't really believe it, and I definitely didn't think God liked me until my ex-pastor was exposed as abusive at home. It started to unravel some things. It was the gift of a faith crisis. Really, I was able to ask the questions that I'd stuffed and buried for years. And through all asking those questions, God led me to resources that allowed me to understand his love and his unconditional acceptance of me. And that was so life changing and freeing. And I can rest and I'm not exhausted, that I want to help other people feel the same way. And that's really why I started the podcast. I want them to experience the freedom that comes with actually getting to be yourself, not trying to be somebody else so that God or other people will approve of you.
I mean, that's a beautiful message. That like whatever faith you're a part of, or whatever it is that you believe, like it's such a central tenet, I think, in the purity of all of those beliefs, which is that like,
Mm,
you get to be who you are, and it's like the practice of the unconditional love, right? I think that's always the hardest part. Is like we will say unconditional, but then there's all these conditions to actually do that, and we do that to ourselves, like first and
yes.
foremost
Yeah,
before everybody
absolutely.
else, right? So yeah, I love that message. I resonate with it. My follow-up question to you would then be, so what is the current business that spawned out of that, or the current business that you're doing right now?
hmm Right now, it mostly looks like one-on-one coaching. So I can work directly with women primarily and help them untangle the narratives that have been spoken over them, that they need to be different or they need to be doing all these things. And we get to untangle those in the context that makes them comfortable. Some people are a little bit traumatized by the Bible, and so are a little bit further from that. Other people are still in tune with that, and we go use Bible to untangle those narratives that they've been handed. But yeah, it looks through a one-on-one context, and then some group coaching on worthiness as well, in addition to you mentioned the Bible studies. I decided to, this season of my podcast, go deeper on topics. Each month we're going on one topic, and there's a Bible study that goes with that so that people can take what they're learning and apply it more personally and more permanently.
Beautiful. I love that. So what then is happening inside of your business as far as like challenges, or that brings you here today?
hmm Yeah. So I feel like I am on the brink of a breakthrough. Like I'm going to hit the black this year. I have already hit the black, but this is the first year that I've hit the black. And there was just a lot of self work in, like, because this is still a journey that I'm on. Like, what does my relationship with God look like? What is my theology about this? What do I believe about that? And I think it gets sticky when I'm trying to make those decisions as I'm guiding other people through it. There's I don't know, that's a big piece that I think had to fall into place in the first couple of years doing this. And then right now, what it looks like is I have all of the systems in place. I've been working with a coach, and we have a team of interns that's helping me. So everything's off my plate. And all I have to do is the coaching, the recording, and the conversations, like the money making, like closing the sales. So that feels really good, and I just feel like I'm on the brink of it, but then there's just a little bit of hesitation, like, "Am I really gonna make it? Am I really gonna am I gonna have revenue this year? Am I gonna have something to show for this?" So that's part of what's going on inside. Like, I'm ready, I'm on the brink, and then, yeah, just waiting for it to all fall into place.
And when you say, "Am I gonna be able to have revenue in place this year?" You mean, like, revenue in the black? Like, am I gonna be able to, like, profit this year?
Right, yes, and my goal this year, my number's so small, like, when I look at the world around me of entrepreneurs and what's possible, but, like, if I made 20,000, I would make back everything that I've put into it as far as coaches for myself and all of that. Um, so I would love to be in the black on that, on everything I've also invested in it.
Mhm. Well, I mean, you have the next half of the year to go, right? Like, we're
Right,
halfway through the year,
absolutely.
so you're actually in a very good position to do that.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask a little bit deeper questions with regards to that. So, to make sure I've heard you correctly, so it's like the systems are all set up. I'm, like, poised to succeed. I've got the coaching, I've got the interns, and what is the actual problem, right? Like, so, like, that's a
Mm.
great picture of, like, yeah, makes sense, good spot to be in. What's the actual problem in your own words?
Mm. Well, I need more clients. I need more people who are like ready to do the deep work and ready to stop struggling with it, which that's something that I waffle. Sometimes I'm like, I can't help these people. Because most of my clients so far have been seeing a therapist at the same time. I mean, this is really deep work that we're doing. And it's then sometimes that confidence, that self-doubt gets in there. I'm like, maybe I can't help them. So I think that's impacting sales because even while I'm speaking out of my mouth saying, I can help you get breakthrough over this for good, I'm like, I can help you get breakthrough on it for the next couple of years, maybe. So I think that's one of the doubts under there that makes me hesitate to charge. Not that I don't charge for it, I do, but it's like, here, maybe they all they need is my free podcast, or maybe all they need is because people are sending me notes that they're getting breakthrough from just my free content. And so, yeah, I think there's something there with charging for it.
Got it. And, I'm just taking some notes.
Hmm.
And, so when it comes to, like, if we just focus on this bit about sales,
Yeah.
so you're like, "Okay, well, I hesitate to charge for what I'm doing because people are telling me they're getting breakthroughs from my podcast. So maybe I can't actually help them." And then you said, "Maybe I can't help them for the next 2 years," or something like that.
Right.
So
Like I can get them a little bit of breakthrough, but then they'll be back to this. It's like what my it's like such a lie that I can't get them breakthrough because I believe I've had breakthrough in this area and I can help them get the same thing. But then it's like, well, maybe they'll be circling back around to this. And it's too bold to say I can help you break out of this for good.
okay. And, is that really true?
I don't know. See, I don't know if I believe that. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. So maybe I will get them a little bit ahead, but then they'll fall back and they'll, like, fall
Mm,
back to, like, where they are. So maybe I can't charge for it. They have other experts on their team. They're more educated than me about these things. So, like, maybe that's why I also, like, can't do the transformation because it's not just me. They need these other people. So, like,
sure.
how can
Hmm.
I be just the one? How do you feel when you think all these thoughts?
Yeah, hearing you say it back, it sounds a little bit more ridiculous, which is good. It sounds a little bit less believable. Uh, yeah. Um, how does it make me feel to experience all of those at the same time? It makes me, uh, wanna look for evidence again, like, almost needing that confirmation back again, the feedback loop, like, I need somebody to say, "Yes, this was helpful," again, or I need a client to get a breakthrough, which can be good and bad because I don't want to enter any kind of coaching scenario where I'm working with them and I need them to get a breakthrough so that I'm validated, because that's not healthy.
Okay, so
But
I know
yeah.
you understand that intellectually, but does that feel true? Right? Like I need somebody to get a breakthrough to confirm that I'm a
Mm,
good coach. Feel
no,
true.
no.
Doesn't. Okay, perfect. The other part that I want to circle back to is I actually just asked you, how do you like how do these thoughts make you feel? And then your
Mhm.
brain went into a whole sort of other thoughts and
Right,
justifications,
right.
etc. So I'm going to bring it back. When you tune inside, like inside of your body, how do you feel when you think, let's just say, the umbrella thought of maybe I can't help them?
I think unworthiness comes up,
Okay.
like, I don't feel worthy. Yeah, or yeah, like, not being enough.
Okay. So unworthy and not enough of what?
Mm, ooh. Like unworthy to help them. I don't have enough of the tools to help them, which is, I know you deal with people, you coach people all the time. And it's a tendency of us, like heart centered coaches, to be like, here, just let me get more certifications and I'll feel better. And then the more we know, the less we think we know. It's like the vicious cycle.
Yep. 100%. And I would also just add a nuance to that is, are you searching for more certifications to get the confirmation that you are worthy and good enough to coach and
Mm.
aid and facilitate the transformation?
There are some on my radar that I would want to get certified in. Um, but recently I recognized that loop, right? I was like, "Oh," because I would love to become a spiritual director. I would love to get certified as a spiritual director, but that one I realized was part of proving. Now, I would love to also be trauma informed, like actually go through a course, and that one doesn't feel like I'm trying to prove anything. I just really do want to help
Beautiful.
people best.
Like great awareness on the distinction, because yes, there are things that are actually going to be useful in your toolbox to aid in the transformation that you're doing. And there's a lot of things that aren't, right? And you kind of started this whole conversation with saying, well, I spent this like 20K worth of investment in myself to kind of get here. And obviously I don't know what you spent. I don't know where and how helpful it
Mhm.
was, but it's just like, okay, cool. Like that's a pretty significant amount of money. So it shows me that A, you are serious about investing in yourself, which is obviously a good thing. But then it's also an interesting thing given that the core intention behind investing in all of these is coming from unworthiness and not being good enough. And I'm barely just making like black, right? So it's
Mhm.
like maybe they're related, they somehow don't add up. It's just an observation
Mm.
I want to bring your way. So what comes up to you when I share that?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I've been diligent about the voices that I've listened to. Like,
Good.
I haven't been like, "Here, I need a piece of this and I need a piece of that." A mastermind I was in last year, it did bring me a lot of connections, but it was distracting because there were people in it doing all kinds of businesses, which is great, except for that I was taking pieces. That was the first time that I started taking pieces, or maybe I should be doing this because mostly I've been pretty good about not. Um, so yeah, that's what comes up. I think the things that I've invested in have been valuable tools, given me valuable tools for what I need. And especially a coach that believes in your business more than you do some days is very nice. Uh, that's been very valuable.
Got it. So if we just go back to um the just to like close the loop, right? Like I'm not trying to discount anything that you
No,
said.
yeah,
I
this is
think
good.
there's relative things that we can pull out of that as well. But going back to this whole bit with regards to like charging and sales, right? So if the
Yep.
umbrella kind of belief here is this like, well, maybe I can't help them. And I tend to feel unworthy and not good enough when I actually think that. The actions I tend to take are I either hesitate to charge for it, I start to look for evidence and confirmation that I was actually helpful, start to doubt how much is my like coaching worth in comparison to my free
Mm,
stuff, like is there a distinction there?
mhm. Right.
What is the ultimate result of all of this? Like this whole loop, what's the result
Mm.
of it in your business and in your life?
Yeah, that would be me shrinking back and being like, "Well, maybe I should just offer my $20 offer." When I know in my gut they need my one-on-one, it's just me shrinking back, I think would be the result, the way I would say it.
But not only like shrink back, but actually don't offer them the thing that's actually going to help them. The $20 thing is
Mm,
probably not going to help
ouch.
them.
Ouch, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's funner to be on this side of the table. I get it.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. So do you see how, like, if that's the results of all these thoughts,
Mhm.
right? So me shrinking back, me wanting to offer them a $20 thing, me not giving them the thing that they actually need so they don't go and actually transform. Now you're
Mm,
creating evidence in your life that really reinforce the original thing that got you here, which is, well, maybe I can't help them. Because look, they
right.
didn't buy the $20 thing, they didn't really transform, or they bought the $20 thing, but they didn't really transform. It's not like they bought my coaching and didn't really try to sell them. So like they're just stuck with where they are. So maybe I actually can't help them. So
Mhm.
start the whole loop again. I'm unworthy. I'm gonna hesitate to charge for it. Here's a $20 thing. More evidence to reinforce the thought that, well, maybe I can't actually help them. So what
Right,
lands for
yeah.
you with all of that?
Mm. And those self-fulfilling prophecies are just so powerful, aren't they? Stop. Yeah. So, I'm gonna just be what comes up for me, it makes me wanna be bold. Like, come on. If I am perpetuating this cycle of maybe I can't help them and, "Oh, look, I didn't help them," I'm not doing what I say that I want to be doing, and I'm not actually giving them the transformation.
So if I call that I'm not walking my talk, would that resonate with you?
Mm.
Or would you prefer something else?
Ooh, I guess I am walking my talk, and I need to stop acting like I can't help them because that's what I'm letting myself still believe, that I can't help them, and then it's manifesting.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about that. Uh,
Yeah,
I think I
so if
understand what you said, but I wanna
sure,
make
yeah.
sure.
So if I say, "I'm not sure I can help them," and then this cycle of, like, feeling unworthy, not enough, and then I offer them my small offer because I'm not really sure if they're ready to pay for it or if I can help them, then I'm not helping them, and so I'm making happen what I feared would happen.
Correct. It's like you're actually very good at creating the exact reflection of your beliefs,
Mhm. Right.
right?
Yeah.
And right now your belief is, "Well, maybe I can't help them." And there's, like,
Mm.
other ripple beliefs from that, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't have enough tools to help them. I need confirmation from people that I'm doing, like, a good enough job, right? It's too bold to say that I can help you break out of this thing, right? People are getting breakthroughs, just my free content, so, like, how good can my coaching actually be, right? It's all ripples of, well, maybe I
Yes.
can't just help them, right?
Mhm.
So, my question to you would then be, I know you intellectually see that, like, this is silly. Why am I acting like this, right? If you tune in right now inside of your body, like how true does it feel? Maybe I can't help them on a scale of 0 to 10. So 0 is
Mm.
like they're just words. Like if I said I'm a monkey, you'd be like, that's they're just words. Like that's not true. To 10, which is like this is absolutely I know it's true. So maybe I can't
Mm.
help them. How true on that scale does that feel inside of your body right now?
Feels like a 4 or a 5.
Okay, perfect. Why a 4 out of 5?
Uh, hmm, Because mostly, I do see the breakthrough that people are getting. I do see those breaks. So I do have some of that evidence, and if they're it's funny because where I think a lot of people's mind would go, if they're getting breakthrough from your free content, what can paid content do for them? Like this is going to be incredible breakthrough. And I'm like going backwards. So I think there's some of that belief that, wow, they are getting transformation. And then the like why it's not a 0 or a 1 would be like just fear that I'm over promising maybe. And I just want to be honest. I want to be, maybe that's what it is.
Tell me more about that.
Mm. So I don't want to give them a false promise, like you will never deal with this again. And that you're going to get breakthrough, that you'll never face this challenge again. When if this is part of their core, they likely will cycle past this again as we spiral upward. They're likely to pass this performance based thing again. And maybe it is too that I know that there are performance based mindsets that are still part of me that I'm still breaking off of. So maybe that's part of it, that it's
Okay.
not
So
just a one and done, but maybe I'm putting pressure on the language to need to be, you'll forever be broken out of this, or like you can break out of this for good. Maybe I'm putting too much pressure on that language when I can instead give you the tools to navigate this. And that's feels more honest and feels more authentic, I guess.
okay. So do you feel like you've broken out of it for good?
As far as my relationship with God, absolutely. And I think the layer that's still um, that I'm still shedding is how that's manifesting in like in-person relationships.
Okay. So tell me
Um,
more about that.
yeah, so I think the first thing that really shifted was my relationship with God, and then it was my relationship with myself, like maybe a year or two later. And now it feels like I'm working through just the awareness of how it's showing up, like the performance, like whether I'm doing the dishes because I believe that a good Christian wife would keep her house clean. Like that was a narrative that was spoken over me. And I didn't realize that I was still living it until this year. I was like, man, I'm living this thing. I'm still somehow tying some of my worth to how clean my house is and recognizing that. So breaking off. And like a few weeks ago, I remember waking up and doing the dishes right away. And it was a day that I was going to be working. My husband was going to be home with the kids. And like I realized that I was doing it because I loved him, not because I felt so guilty that I had left dishes for him. So just that performance shift is impacting now way patterns that I didn't realize were there with like relationships with the people closest to me.
Got it. So you yourself feel like the shift that you have made have settled into a new normal, right?
Mm,
In terms of relationship with God, your relationship with your family, and for the most part, how you show up in those that matter to you most. Like, would that be accurate?
hmm. Yeah, that
Okay.
the patterns have shifted. Hmm.
Okay. So there is a new normal there,
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
Is there a part of you that doubts that that new normal is going to stay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there is. Yep.
So
Mhm.
tell me more about that. What's the doubt?
What's the doubt? Um, I don't know. There's like I can't really decipher it, but there's like there's something here that's like maybe something that was spoken over me, like you'll never change or you can't change, or but I can't put my finger on it, but it seems something like that. Like I don't know. Uh Almost like something maybe somebody else spoke over me that there wouldn't that this that's part of me would always be the same. I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay. So same scale of 1 to 10. How true is this sentiment of you'll never change, the part of you will always be the same, this doubt
Mm,
about this new normal can stay? Where on a scale of 0 to 10 would you be for that?
Like a 2.
Okay, like a 2.
Mhm.
So it doesn't feel that true.
No, it doesn't feel that true.
Okay. Yet, it's that very same doubt that is blocking your clarity on what it is you actually deliver as far as like a offer type result
Mhm.
to your potential clients,
Right.
right? It's like
Mhm.
I'm hesitating that I'm over promising that I can actually deliver the change. So I don't want to over promise because I'm standing on this kind of semi shaky foundation that, well, I didn't really change, so I can really promise other people to change, which then goes into, well, maybe I can't help them, which then feeds into the unworthiness and then the not charging, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Mhm.
what lands for you when I share that?
Yeah, it's a lot to process, and I think that's very it's true. I don't think you connected any dots that aren't connected. I think it really is that I am hesitating to, um, like, I'm afraid that maybe I haven't changed enough or I'm promising them something that hasn't happened for me when it has, but there's just like you said, it's just that little tiny seed of doubt that is causing a bunch of ripples.
Right. So I'm afraid that I haven't changed enough.
Mhm.
Right. So it goes back to the work that I've done. It's still not enough.
Mm.
Right. Like it's
Mhm.
another ripple effect. It's another mask of, well, I'm not actually enough. So even though I did all this work and I'm great, but maybe it's not enough. And if
Mhm.
that's not enough, and I can't point to my own transformation, it's going to be extremely hard to point to somebody else and be like, look, you can have the same transformation that's on a crappy foundation. So just pay $20 for it. You don't need to like pay the whole thing or listen to it for free, but it's okay. Like it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, did you see
Mhm.
how
Yeah, yeah.
that now interconnects together?
Mhm. Absolutely.
Okay. And what's coming up for you when I share that?
Mm. The word proving comes up for me. So I think the root of performance is based in proving for me.
Hmm.
It's like if I'm doing all these things and I'm going to prove I'm valuable. It came up actually, I think I just journaled through this yesterday. Something there was a disagreement between me and my husband and I was like, how can I get him to see this? And then someone else confirmed, not that it has to be black and white, but somebody else confirmed that I was right. And I was like, "Oh, then I don't have to he doesn't have to be on my side for me to be right." Like I was trying to convince him so that I could prove that I was something instead of owning like, well, I do have a good perspective on this and I'm going to own that. And that allows me compassion and empathy and patience for where you're at rather than me trying to push you down and prove that I'm right. Does that make sense? So proving comes up for me. Um,
Yeah.
like
Well,
a
it's come up
yeah.
quite a bit, even in just in today's conversation. Like you mentioned the word proving multiple times,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And when somebody goes out to prove something, what are they fundamentally proving?
They want to know that they can do it, that they're enough.
That they're good enough, right? Like
Mhm.
proving energy is an energy of I am going to show you I am good enough. It is
Right.
not an inherent ownership of I'm good enough, but I'm going to prove that my skill set can achieve this result.
Mhm.
Because they're two different things, right? Like, do you get your value out of the outcome, or is your value inherent in who you are? But then you've also gotten a skill set that can get a particular outcome, whether in business and sports and
Mm.
whatever, right? So it's like, do I need the business to prove that I'm worthwhile, or am I worthwhile, but I like creating this business and wanting to experience more in it? Like the outcome can
Right.
be actually exactly the same, but the way that we got there and our experience of getting there and being there, night and day difference potentially.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
what comes up for you?
yeah, the motivation for it completely shifts.
Correct. And given that you've said proving multiple times today, what do you think you're trying to do in your business with all these interactions?
Mm. That's so interesting as that thought has been way back there. I haven't really entertained it. But what am I trying to prove in my business? Prove that I'm successful? Mm. Maybe even prove that I don't know if I'm trying to prove something to people in my past that I have broken free or that I am better off. Yeah, there could be something there.
There's a lot of ripple narratives that
Mhm.
lead into all of this. So that aspect of, let's just say I'm trying to prove that I'm successful. So same scale, how true does that feel?
Proving that I'm successful? I don't even know how to rate that because I'm not even sure what I mean what I mean by it, like, what it looks what that would look like. Um, yeah, so I don't even know how to answer that one, honestly.
That's totally fine. Fair enough. Um, do you have a lot of like what I call these like the ripple beliefs or like survival beliefs? So let's just say inherently the core one is whatever your version of like I'm not good enough is. So if you go
Mm,
through the world and then you go through thousands upon thousands of repetitions of doing things through that lens, you're going to end up like creating conclusions around a lot of ripple things. Because throughout
mhm,
today, like we had all of these beliefs, right? Like maybe I just can't help them, kind of like a 4, 5 out of 10, right? Part of you will never change. Part of you is going to stay the same. It's kind of like a 2 out of 10, right? I'm trying to prove something and I see them trying to prove it, but I don't kind of believe it. So maybe that's like a 1 or 2 out of 10. It's like all these ripple beliefs that aren't that powerful on their own, but they create the broad spectrum of how you actually act in the world and
mhm,
subsequently then not sell your things, not charge probably what you need to charge, not ask for the sale, like creating very real results. Like you said, I'm shrinking back and I'm contracting who I actually am. I keep offering my $20 thing. I actually don't give people what they need. So I actually continue to suffer,
mhm.
right? So you see
Yeah,
how it's like I'm living in these ripples and they're creating what I think is a sales problem, but it's actually a me problem disguised
mhm.
as sales.
Right. Yep.
Okay. And I know that was a lot. So what's coming up for you when I share all of that?
Hmm. I think I'm definitely the first one that we started touching on, just like that I can't help them is and then just I guess the whole pattern is very fascinating. How it's because of a self-doubt that I haven't changed enough. And if it has anything to do with like trying to prove to somebody else that I've changed or that I am better without them, or like that some like there might be something in there that because there's still a fear of how other people perceive me. And like you use the words not fully showing up. I think you used it like not fully showing up as myself. Like, I have this thing that maybe might help you. And people are like, okay, thanks. And that's why it's a sales problem because if I don't believe in it, they can't buy into it and then they're not buying it.
Yeah, they'll never believe in it more than you believe in it. And that's kind of what,
Mhm.
like when you said my coach believes in my business more than I do, that's a beautiful spot to be in. It's a very fragile spot to be in.
Mhm.
Like it's good to have that kind of support, but if you don't do the work to flip that around, that's like then as long as the coach is there, you might actually do some actions that coincide with your highest good. As soon
Mm.
as that's gone, well, now I'm back to my base level belief, and the source of my belief, which was outside of me, is
Mm.
now gone. Right? There's
Yeah.
something like it's a good thing to have, but if you recognize it for the power source that it is, and you're giving that power source away, right? Where it
Yeah.
should be
Yeah.
internally generated because nobody should believe in your business more than you. And people are only ever going to believe in your offer, like, never going to believe more. They're only going to believe like one step lower at best. Right. But like if
Mhm.
the bar is already set low, you don't have a lot of wiggle room to play with. Right. So does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. And
Mhm.
then just to flip things around, if you looked at your offer right now, do you feel like it's priced fairly in terms of what it is that you're providing?
Yes. Yes, I do. Especially since I think a lot of the women that I help, this is the first time that they've invested in themselves in this way. So it to them, it already feels like a big ask. So maybe there's something there where I feel like I'm asking too much, but, um, yeah, I think, uh and I don't mind talking numbers. I don't know if you talk numbers much.
Totally up to you. Like I go as far and as deep as you want to go.
Sure. So I charge 1,500 for 4 months, and, like, that's a call every other week. They have access to me on Voxer. Most don't take advantage of that for some reason. That's interesting to me, but they have access there. They have access to my pre-recorded content. Um, and I think there's part of me that has like I like the bigger container option, like 4 months versus 3, because it allows us time to work together more. Um, but I could expand that to 6 months, and then I would have to charge more. I would have to, and that feels hard. And then I could also scale it back to 3
But
months
just
instead of
pause
4.
right there with the feeling like what? Like
Yeah.
there was like a what? Like I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do. Like okay,
Yeah.
so
S
hypothetically speaking, if you were to charge $3,000, so double what you charge right now
Right.
for 3 months, what's the first thing that pops into your head, or what's the first thing
Oh,
you feel?
like something in my stomach is like, it's freaking out.
Okay, so tell me more about that. What's the actual feeling?
Ooh. Um, yeah, is it worth that? Would anybody buy it? Yeah. I think that worthiness enough. Am I giving them enough for it to be worth that?
Okay, so if you said the statement like everything that I provide right now in the form that I provide it, and I happily and confidently provide it for $3,000 for 3 months. How true does that feel for you on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10?
Mm. Mhm. Oh, man. It's like pushing a 6. I think a 6.
Okay. So that feels truer to you than maybe I can't help them, which was a 4 or 5.
Mm,
Or,
yeah.
right, part of me is
Mhm.
never going to change,
Mhm.
which was a 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is, I think, why I can make sales is because it depends on the moment, right? Which one has speaking louder,
Hmm.
but that's why
So
it's inconsistent.
fair. But now it comes back to if it freaks me out to consider buying, like charging $3,000 for 3 months. Yet I believe if I change nothing, I can charge that much. Yet I freak out thinking about it and end up telling people to buy my $20 thing. What's actually true?
Mhm. Yeah, I'm still believing that I can't help them. Like, that's inside is the thing that's I can say it doesn't speak the loudest, but it seems to be informing more than anything
Okay.
else.
And that's I can't help them.
Mhm.
That sentiment, maybe I can't help them.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe I can, maybe I can't.
So the reality is that doubt, is it actually a 4 to 5 out of 10 or is it higher?
Mm. Oh, it must be higher. It yeah.
So I'm not like what
Mm.
resonates for you, right? Like if it's still 4 out of 5, cool. It's what you're. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to map out your experience here.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think I can't help them. Oh, I think is totally wrong. Maybe I can help them is like a 9. Like maybe because there's so many that feels true.
Okay,
Like
so
the
it's
maybe
not
part.
I can't help them isn't that true. But maybe I can help them.
It's like,
That feels it's
mhm,
not absolute, but the doubt like feels extremely true.
mhm, right.
Okay. So now that makes sense
Yeah.
because it's you believe in what you do, you've seen the ripple effects of your transformation, but it's like all these things are wearing this film of doubt. So distorting absolutely everything. Like I'm 90% there across the board, but it's that last 10% of belief that I don't have that I can actually help people. I would garner that it probably has something to do with I can't help myself. But I think that's the part to unpack.
Mm, yeah. Mhm.
So how does all of that land for you?
Yeah, it's fascinating to, and I'm not sure why that belief that seems to be underneath it, that I can't help myself or that I haven't got the transformation that I'm promising them or some like that story. I don't know why I believe that one.
Yeah, I think that's a discussion for uh like a deeper dive into all of this because there's a lot here, right? Even
Yeah,
just like what we
absolutely.
unpacked here today. So, just for time and in the container that we're in, we can't solve all of those things. But does this feel complete for you? Is there still something left outstanding?
Mm. Yeah, I think it's a lot of information, and now I have to decide what to do with it, like how to move past that "maybe I can't help them" question.
Correct. And if you were to get past that, what do you think the result of that would be?
Mm. Uh, I would offer, and if they don't want to, it's fine, but I can be confident that I can help them.
Okay.
Um,
So if
yeah,
I
so
get past this
confidence.
belief, confident that I can actually help them, what else?
Mhm. Mm. Yeah, I guess it drives impact, it drives revenue.
Okay. So I would be more likely to hit the black.
Mhm, yeah.
Okay.
I
What
would
else?
have those clients. Uh, I think there's that lie underneath it would be like, "Okay, then you were enough." Like you were talking about, am I growing the business because it's something that lights me up, or am I growing it to prove that I can grow it? And I don't want to be proving that I can grow it or proving that I can help people. Um, yeah, that would if I'm operating in the maybe I can help them and I have to prove that I can, then the business growth would be the proof, and that wouldn't be necessarily what I want to be trying to prove. Did that make sense? I feel like I just went in a
So
loop. Just
that's
yeah.
fair. And I think it's reflective of the language that you use because you're in that doubt thing. So you're never
Mhm.
really clear on like what it is that you're saying. And I don't mean that in like an
Yeah.
intelligent way. I think
No.
you articulate yourself beautifully, but it's just like if I'm constantly in doubt, I will like mix and match my
Yeah,
words and then double check
absolutely.
if you know what I mean? So I think that is ripple effect of
Mhm.
that. What I heard was that the business growth will be like a consequence, not a I need to do this for my own significance, but it's a consequence of the fact that I'm actually just showing up confidently, asking for the sales and helping the people that I can help, and then allowing myself because I am good enough to receive the money that I can to actually then the result of that be in the black, etc. So
Mhm.
would that like does that feel accurate to you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And one other way that I would ask you to see, okay, what might be different when I solve this belief is how would you show up? How would you be visible if you
Mm.
were supremely confident in believing in the change that you have made and that you can provide for others?
Mm. Yeah, unapologetic is a word that comes to
Mm,
mind. Yeah, I wouldn't be I wouldn't care who saw it. Like you said, visible. There's there's still some people are like, "Oh my goodness, if they saw, what would they think?" And up here, I don't care what they think. But down here, it's still like, "What do they think?"
that's the part that matters because all of these things
Right.
intellectually be like, this is all ridiculous. Like, why am I doing this? But
Exactly.
emotionally, like it's the emotional logic here that matters because it's the emotional logic that actually dictates the actions you're taking, and the actions that you're taking right now are giving you the results that, you are getting $20 clients and not really serving them. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So that's why I'm concerned, and I've asked you multiple times, like, what is it that you actually feel?
Mhm. Yeah, right.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So anyway, just because of like time, and I do have a hard stop at the end of the hour, does this feel complete for you? Is there still something left outstanding?
Mm. Yeah, I think there's stuff outstanding for sure. But you said something about receiving that money, and I think that that's the piece because I don't mind giving this stuff for free. Because then if you don't transform, it's fine, and I don't feel bad for
Yeah,
what I got from you. It's the I charged you, and now I have to get you the results, or now there's this thing that we exchanged that makes me want to make sure that I help you.
correct. So definitely another layer that's related to this. I also think it's something very particular with people that are like in the religious space that you are in. Like I had another guest that a very similar thing, that her story is more like she escaped a religious cult and now like helps people out of that. But that sentiment of receiving, like there's like it's like ingrained, like it's better to give than to receive. It's kind of like
Mhm.
ingrained from the start. So I think you're going to have ripple effects of that as well. And combine that with the whole proving energy and like can actually get them the result. Like it makes for a very interesting soup of like
Mhm.
beliefs that don't really serve me. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep, yep.
So yeah, I mean, I,
Yes.
I know we can dive into a lot of these, but I think you have enough of a starting point to dive into a lot of these
Mhm.
things
Yeah, for sure.
with yourself. So why don't you just close us off with like, give us a summary in your own words of like, what did you come into this conversation thinking was your business problem, and then what were any
Mhm.
like, breakthroughs or ahas as we wrap up?
Yeah, I thought that there was a money story, which, like, we didn't really touch because which is totally fine. What I thought was a money story first has to start with, do I think I can help them? And then, like, that aha of how it's feeding into, like, my own doubt of my personal growth is making me go, "Can I get them the result? If I'm still working on this, I can help them to a certain point, and then but is that really worth exchanging 4 figures for?" And yeah, and then yeah, so I think that was the aha, how those 2 are connected was helpful.
Beautiful, very nicely said. Yeah, and Emily, thank you very much for doing this. Floor is now yours. Let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you. Floor is yours for that.
Okay, sounds awesome. Well, go to my podcast, Abundant Grace, and I can help you lighten the load that religion has tried to put on your shoulders. And you can find me on Instagram, emily.abundantgrace. I'm pretty active over there and would love to get to know you. Send me your story. Tell me what your background is, and I'd love to connect with you there. Send me a DM, and yeah, I can't wait for you guys to get breakthrough because you don't have to live in religious bondage at all. The perfect person to find who I can help is somebody who is tired of being told that they have to be a certain thing or do a certain thing in order for God to be happy with them, and they feel themselves shrinking back into a box that somebody else constructed or a mold that somebody told them they had to fit, and you're tired of it, but you're not sure how to break out of that, hit me up. I would love to chat with you.
Love it. Well, we'll include all that in the show notes as always. But Emily, thank you very much for being here and sharing so vulnerably. And to everybody else listening, we'll see you on the next one.